Dancing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. All the hills we go, laughing on the way. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Christmas time. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you are celebrating around this time of year. We hope you have nothing but prosperity, happiness, joy, whatever other nice things that you could think of, nice adjectives that you could think of around the holiday season. We hope you enjoy this time of year. This is a time to look at your fellow neighbor and give them the thanks, give them the hope, give them all the praise that you need to give them, and, you know, be thankful for the things that you have. So, yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all the pleasantries that I can give you. I truly, truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. This weekend, though, the Philadelphia Eagles don't have a pleasantry. They have to play the Buffalo Bills. Now, in some ways, it can be a pleasantry, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the episode. But this is also a football team, ladies and gentlemen, that just a few weeks ago, quite frankly, after the Chicago game, I said was awful. And maybe I have to retract that statement. I can't say that they're awful, but they're certainly not a great football team. Okay, I think that's clear. I think the 2025 season has shown everybody that there are no great teams in the NFL outside of maybe the Rams. And even the Rams show that they can be got on any Sunday. The Panthers got them, the Seahawks got them. You could throw it on the Rams. That's one of the key things I think that people are not really giving credit to for the Rams, is that you could throw it on them. Seattle, Sam Darnold's their quarterback. He's played really well this season. They have a really good offense, a really good defense, but there is nobody outside of Seattle, and maybe even some in Seattle, who believe that Sam Darnold will win you a playoff game. They just don't trust it. They got to see it to believe it. The Bears, they're a little bit of a wild card. Some people think they're a little fugazi. Some people say they're not. They can run the ball really well. Their defense is opportunistic. They have a really good head coach. They got a quarterback who's up and down, but a spectacular and very untimely scheduled plays. So they're a team that can really make a problem for other people in the league as well. The Panthers, you don't know what to make of them. 1 week they're really good, and they've beaten some really good teams on the year. And other weeks you look at them like, this is probably the worst team in football. So they're a young football team. So with that being said, the conference in the NFC, and then obviously I don't take the Packers seriously. I really don't take the Niners seriously because of their defense. Although their offense is for real, and Brock Purdy and that quarterback, and the running back, and Kyle Shanahan with George Kittle, they're a problem. I just don't think they're going to be able to stop anybody. So you look at the rest of the conference and you say to yourself, who exactly is the juggernaut amongst the crew? There's really nobody. And the reason I bring that up is that this game on Sunday, the Philadelphia Eagles playing against the Buffalo Bills on the road, if Philadelphia Eagles go into Buffalo and win that football game, all of a sudden the perspective of the landscape could change in terms of how people feel about Philadelphia. Because for some reason, everybody thinks the Buffalo Bills are a Super Bowl contender. Now, it's partly because of Josh Allen and their running attack, but mainly it's because of reputation that they, for some reason, have somehow built as a Super Bowl title contender, when I have seen nothing that the Buffalo Bills have done to warrant them as Super Bowl contenders. To me, they are, quite frankly, a team who are just, they got a really good offensive line. They got James Cook, and they have superstar Josh Allen, and that's it. Other than that, there's really nothing else on that team going for them. And the only reason that people love them as Super Bowl contenders is because of that quarterback. Rightfully so. But you know what? He's had his playoff woes too. And again, they're going to have to go into the playoffs this year and get it done. Because if they don't do it this year, they're never going to do it, in my opinion. That's just my opinion about the Buffalo Bills. We'll talk about them in just a few. But regardless, amongst the national perception of national media here, right? Beating the Buffalo Bills to the Philadelphia Eagles would be a really big deal. It would change the conversation around the Philadelphia Eagles going into the playoffs, because more likely than not, you're going to sit your starters in the last week against the Commanders, because you're not going to have a bye week. There's really no way to get the 1 seed in the NFC. So this game, Buffalo is favored by 1.5, rightfully so. They're at home. But if it were a neutral field, this would be a pick 'em game, basically, is what they're, because normally home teams get 3 points. They're giving Buffalo 1.5. So they obviously know that the Buffalo Bills team is flawed. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment and why I believe, and I'm going to be a little bit of an Eagles homer here and say that Philadelphia is going to win that ball game. And I'll talk about the reasons why in just a few moments. But before we do that, let me introduce you to the show. This is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am your host, Asif Badi, and like you, I am a Birds fan that talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor, help us grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, commenting your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribing to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate your support on the opposite side of the camera and on the opposite side of the airwaves. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go into this matchup with the Buffalo Bills. Now, for my radio audience, I will read off stats and numbers, and I will explain my thought process. And the video audience, you get to see the stats pulled up via ESPN, via Yahoo, via other platforms that I like to use every now and then. So off we go. This is the Buffalo Bills team leaders in stats, okay? And the reason I'm going to bring this all up is, about the conversation regarding Josh Allen, okay? Like I said, they're favored at home, rightfully so, and partly because Josh Allen is a superhero. He's got 3,400 yards on the year. He's got 25 passing touchdowns. He does have 10 interceptions, but on top of it, he also has 12 rushing touchdowns, which is an insane number for a quarterback. One of the NFL league leaders in NFL history, I should say, in rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen, so kudos to him. James Cook, a player that I have drafted in fantasy who has done me very well, but I didn't make the playoffs this year, so I guess whoopie-doo basil, what does it all mean? Doesn't really mean anything, but 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, averaging 100 yards a game. He's been a workhorse. He's been a unit. 5 yards a carry. The guy is sensational at the running back spot. I think he's the league leader in rushing right now at 1,500 yards. Him and Jonathan Taylor, I think, are the two guys at the moment. But James Cook is phenomenal. One of the best football players in the NFL. And quite frankly, for the Buffalo Bills, when they started to change their identity with Joe Brady and started giving less responsibility to Josh, and I say this not necessarily as an insult, I think every team needs to take a little bit of a load off the quarterback. Their transition to running the ball and putting the ball in James Cook's hand more, I think, was a good thing for the Buffalo Bills. It's kept their longevity a little bit better here. Otherwise, I think they would be, a team that's kind of closer to the Kansas City Chiefs side of things, if not for the running game here. It's not an indictment on the quarterback to say, like, hey, to take the ball out of the guy's hands more often than not leads to you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people like to use that argument that, hey, you run the ball a lot more, you don't want to put the ball in the quarterback's hands. That's an indictment on your quarterback, when in actuality, I think the Buffalo Bills are saying, hey, you don't need to be Superman all the time, Josh. Let's just run the ball. Let's take the load off of you, so that way when you do put the ball in your hands, you're more effective. And I think that's what's happened in that transition from, Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady. So kudos to them on that. I actually like the move that they did there. Let's take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles offensive stats, and you're going to see some similar numbers here. Jalen Hurts has 3,100 yards, not necessarily as prolific as Josh Allen in terms of the yardage. Josh Allen throws for 300 yards more, but he has 24 touchdowns on the year, 6 interceptions. 4 of them came in one game. Saquon Barkley just eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark. He's probably going to finish with 1,100 yards on the year. Not a bad campaign, but certainly not the campaign that we thought we would get from him. He has 7 touchdowns on the year. Jalen Hurts has 8. Again, one of the other league leaders in rushing touchdowns for a quarterback in NFL history. He's one of those other guys. So he's been pretty good. So overall, Josh Allen has 36 touchdowns on the year. Jalen Hurts has, let's do some quick math here, 32 touchdowns on the year. So in that sense, they're comparable. Really, the key thing is that the receiving yardage for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are what stand out, plus Dallas Goedert's 10 touchdowns versus what the Buffalo Bills had, where they really didn't have anybody who stand out, right? They spread the ball out a lot. Really no key guy other than Khalil Shakir, who I think can play, but he's certainly not A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. So in that sense, you give the tip of the cap to the Bills because Josh Allen is just a better quarterback. He's going to do more with less, and that's exactly what he does, and you see that with the team stats. I bring that all up to now bring on the conversation regarding Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, because now a lot of people are going to tell you that Jalen Hurts can't play. And there was a point of time in this year where you saw he had a really bad stretch. He had an awful stretch of football for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's damn accurate to suggest that, hey, there was a time where we were contemplating whether or not the guy needed to be benched because he was playing that poorly. However, there also was a point in time where Josh Allen wasn't playing super great either, guys. Like there have been games here where he has not been asked to do much. There have been games here where he was not very good and then had a stretch of halves where he's played really well, similar to what Jalen Hurts has done throughout the year, where you see moments in the game where you're like, this guy looks incompetent, where the guy looks really, really bad, but then he makes plays for you that win you the game. And that's kind of what Josh Allen has done all year long. And these past few weeks, I mean, Josh Allen against Cincinnati threw for 251 against the Bengals, and Joe Burrow really lost in that game more so than Josh Allen won that game, in my opinion. Then he played New England, where they were down 2 scores in the first half, led a comeback with James Cook. Josh Allen only had 193 yards in that game. And then against Cleveland, yeah, you played a really good defense. You threw for 130 yards in that game. So, again, James Cook had 117 yards in that game. I mean, there's some games here where, Carolina, he threw for 163, but they blew them out 40-9. That means James Cook had a freaking monster day. He had 216 yards. And instead of just saying that, let me just show you. Check out the ESPN stats based on the season that they've played. Buffalo has been up and down, okay? They played Houston. That was a really rough game for Josh Allen. We all saw it on primetime, right? But that's a really good defense there. They lost to Miami inexplicably because that defense is really, really bad. They couldn't get the running game going. Josh Allen had to do a little bit more. It ended up resulting in the loss. Now, this is not an indictment on Allen. This is more stating the fact that I stated previously about putting so much on your quarterback can lead to more losses than wins. And the fact that people use that as a criticism for Jalen Hurts, I think is unfair. Now, if you want to say that, hey, Jalen Hurts has a lot more things to work with versus Josh Allen, that's a fair critique. But quite frankly, I am not in the business of criticizing a player because of the roster that a team built around them. That's not fair to the player. We don't do it with Brock Purdy. We don't do it with other players in the league. I'm not going to do that with Josh Allen. I'm not going to do that with Jalen Hurts because, quite frankly, you play for the team that you play for, okay? But I was talking about the bad stretch of play against New England, against Atlanta. He had a bad loss against Miami, had a tough loss against Houston. I don't think he played that great against the Browns per se, right? And now you got the Philadelphia Eagles, who, quite frankly, their defensive stats don't necessarily say that they're an elite team on the defensive side of the ball. Let's pull up some of these defensive stats. The Philadelphia Eagles here, on defense, they allow, 19 points a game, which is elite. That's the stat to look at for NFL teams, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Rushing yards per game, you're not very good against the run if you're Philadelphia. And that's probably one of the key things that I'm going to look at. 21st against the run, 7th against the pass, 12th against yards per game. Again, it's really a team in Philadelphia that the defensive stats throughout the year do not quite show how good Philadelphia has been on defense. Like, this has been one of the best defensive units in all of football. And really, it comes down to the philosophy where Vic Fangio will trade yardage. He'll give up more yards in the game if it means you score less points. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive. He basically says, like, hey, I'll give you all the crap underneath. You're going to have to execute a drive for 12 to 13, 14 plays perfectly for you to get 7 points. And in today's NFL, and you see it around the conversation with Phillip Rivers and him coming off the couch and playing with the Indianapolis Colts and him playing as well as he's ever done, basically since he retired, you see quarterback play today is not what it was just a few years ago, okay? Nobody has the command of the offense that these guys used to have to need. Excuse, that's a very weird way to say it. This is a NFL that does not have quarterbacks that can command the offense the way it used to be. And because of that, the rise of Vic Fangio in Philadelphia and his performance in Philadelphia has completely changed the trajectory of his career in terms of the eyes of fans. He's one of the greatest coordinators to ever grace the NFL stadiums, the NFL, coaching staffs, however you want to say it. One of the greatest coordinators to ever coach in the NFL. Okay, I think he's the best coordinator in all of football. And he completely changed the game. And because of that, you're going up against the Buffalo Bills team who, yes, they can run the ball, and that's probably going to be the biggest thing that Buffalo has in their back pocket, that you can run the ball in Philadelphia. And if they're able to establish the run with Josh, with James Cook, it's going to be a long day for Philadelphia. However, outside of that, I am not necessarily going to be afraid of Josh Allen trying to cut up this defense per se. I don't think he has the weapons on the outside to do it. And forgive me, I know this is going to sound blasphemous, and I said this last year during the Super Bowl, but yes, give me a game where you have to put the ball in the star quarterback's hand of the opposing team 30 plus times. I'll take that any day, okay? We said it against the Chiefs, where if you make them throw it 35 plus times, they're going to lose the game. I think with Buffalo, if you make Josh Allen throw it more than 35 times in a game, he's going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and take the ball away, because that's the player he is. He's a gunslinger. He also is the guy that when he entered the league had really bad moments where he would throw backwards passes, where he looked awful in his first playoff game. Those guys, that doesn't leave you. If it doesn't leave guys like Jalen Hurts coming out of college, where they say he's not on time with the ball, he's late throwing the football, he doesn't have the greatest run, those characteristics don't just leave you, okay? If that applies to Jalen Hurts, that has to apply to other players as well. And in my opinion, in this game in particular, it's going to apply to Josh Allen, especially if it's a game where you have to score a lot of points. And because Buffalo's defense is so bad, you have to wonder, hey, did Philadelphia figure something out these last 2 weeks where they're able to move the ball a little bit more and score points? That's the question you have to ask. Now, do I trust this Philadelphia Eagles offense? Not particularly. I don't. I don't trust the way we call the games. I don't trust the execution. And quite frankly, we have not been able to take advantage of porous defenses this year. When we do, though, we look like a juggernaut. Okay? Could this be one of those games where Jalen Hurts pulls out a Minnesota Vikings game? Could this be one of those games where he pulls out a game like he did against the Raiders, again, albeit against the Raiders, where he was just super efficient? We'll have to see, but it's usually this time of year where I think Jalen Hurts picks up his play, gets more rhythm of the offense, and they start to play good football. And also, this is also just a game where the Eagles are gaining more confidence. They're gaining so much more confidence as a unit that a win against Buffalo will actually be maybe the thing that helps them go on a run in the playoffs, because then they look at it and say, hey, we could beat anybody. They probably already believe it right now, but having that win in your back pocket against the Buffalo Bills, against Josh Allen, against James Cook, against that football team, you're going to leave that game and say, hey, we could beat anybody. There's no team that we can't play against. And I think that's what this game means for Philadelphia. So this is a very, very big game. It's why I think it's the biggest test of the year for the Philadelphia Eagles. They go into that game and beat the Buffalo Bills. All of a sudden, the complexion on this team, the complexion of this football team changes amongst the fan base and amongst the national fan base. Because then all of a sudden, you're going to look at it and say, who in the playoffs can beat Philadelphia in a big spot? There's really not many teams in the NFC playoff picture that's going to do it. So listen, the keys to this game, I'll finish it off on this. Can you stop the run if you're the Philadelphia Eagle defense? Stopping James Cook is the engine of this offense, believe it or not. And I know people don't like hearing that per se, but that's quite frankly the truth. When James Cook is effective for the Buffalo Bills, they win football games because it makes Josh Allen that much better. So stopping James Cook, holding him in check is the number one priority in this game. Check mark. Well, let's say you get that done. Then the next step. Can you make Josh Allen throw it more than 30 to 35 plus times in this game? If you do that, I can guarantee you a pick or two is going to happen in this game for the Buffalo Bills. You could book it, okay? And then number 3, can the Eagles establish the run and move the chains against this Buffalo Bills defense? Because this is a football team against the Buffalo Bills where they play as an avalanche. Okay. If you get a first down or two and you move the sticks consistently, it's a long day for that Buffalo Bills defense. You're going to score. Okay. And it doesn't have to necessarily be field goals because I don't know what Jake Elliott's going to look like because that's also a big concern. And I'm not going to try to dismiss it. But I have a feeling that when we're in a position where it's like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and we're in field goal range, we're probably going to go for it. Okay. Unless it's like a surefire kick where it's like under 45 yards or something like that, especially in Buffalo with the wind, the cold, and all that stuff. I have a feeling you're going to see a lot more 4th down attempts in this game by Philadelphia and Buffalo versus kicking and settling for field goals. But moving the ball, getting the run game going, is this Fugazi with Saquon Barkley these past 2 games, or is this more of a trend where he's starting to wake up and starting to churn some yardage out? If that's the case, if Philadelphia can run the football, that means Jalen Hurts is going to have a field day against this Buffalo Bills defense. I can guarantee it. So those are my 3 takeaways. You run the ball. Can you stop the run? Excuse me. Can you run the ball? And can you make Josh Allen throw it 35 times? You do those 3 things. I think Philadelphia is going to win this game, and I have a feeling that's exactly what's going to happen. So, yes, if I had to put money down, which I will in my cheap betting self, in the green, by the way, no pun intended, but I will put money on this game. I'm picking Philadelphia's money line. I think the 1.5 is a little too close for a margin. They just want you to pick a money line at that point. So I'm picking the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game outright. I think this is the game that you can look at and say, hey, if you go and win this game by hook or crook, you're going to leave the football game and saying, hey, Philadelphia can beat anybody in this league. And in this 2025 NFL season, there's really no great team. So could they go on a potential run? It's very, very possible. But it has to start this Sunday, and it has to start with you beating the Buffalo Bills. Without that, all of a sudden the conversation is going to be like, this team's going to be more like a one-and-done type of football team. You never know what they're going to happen. Maybe they can go on a run. No, you beat the Buffalo Bills and completely change the national perception of your football team. That's what could happen. That's what's at stake for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, yes, I'm punching in the money line for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're going to win this football game. Do I have a score? I mean, if we really have to put a number on it, I'll put 24-20 is what I think is going to happen in this game. I think it's going to be a little bit more of an uglier game because of the weather. And both teams like to try to run the football. So I think it's going to be a little bit more lower scoring than we think. I know the last time they played, it was like 34-31 in an overtime game or whatever it was, right? I don't think you're going to get that. So Philadelphia Eagles money line wins this game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this game and what you think about this team going into the playoffs, because next week after this football game, we'll talk about what it looks like in the playoff picture, because the game after that's going to be a little bit more inconsequential for what's going on in the playoffs. So right now, you got to be Buffalo. Sunday's a very important day. It's a game of the week on NFL Fox, so it should be a really, really good one. I think you beat the Buffalo Bills because you're the better team. Roster-wise, top to bottom, better coaching, right? All that jazz. The only caveat is that if Josh Allen looks like Superman, you're probably not going to win that game. But I have a feeling that the Philadelphia Eagles, Vic Fangio, can stifle the Superman tendencies of Josh Allen, force him into a turnover or two, and that ultimately is what's going to win you the football game. So that's my take on that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and we will see you back here next time for the next episode of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.
Hey! Thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.
Ooh,